Today we're back with the 10k per month e-commerce business challenge, I'm going to call it, where I start again from scratch with nothing and rebuild an e-commerce business from the ground up. I'm going to be testing my own framework that I've been developing for the last few years and essentially keeping my knife sharp, as it were, because it's been a fair few years since I started with nothing. Check out episode 1 if you want some more context. Otherwise, I'm going to have to jump straight in because I am excited and I can't put this off any longer. Let's go. Number 1 on the list. Most people start with, what do we sell? This is the common route for small business owners, and I don't think that that's the best place to start at all. I can't lie, I won't lie to you. I have had ideas of what I want to sell floating around for months, maybe even longer, years, and I've been putting it off because I've had a lot on. But from my experience in the last few years, rebuilding a completely different startup in the software world, I know that I need to start with people instead of product. I can't build a product and try find a batch of people to sell it to. That's completely against my advice as a marketer, as a startup founder. I've got to practice what I preach, and so I'm starting with a subset of people that I want to serve for the next few years. So throughout these episodes, you may notice that I change clothes, my hair changes, some sort of thing in the background moves a little bit. Part of this challenge is that I'm doing this around 40-hour work week. I work on several other businesses with other clients. It probably averages out to a full-time job. And so this is going to be, I've got a few hours today, I'll have a few hours tomorrow. This is just going to be if and when. So if it jumps, I'll pick up where I left off and we'll keep this truck moving forwards. I'm hoping to release these each week, but don't hold me to it. I've got a lot on. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Literally starting with a completely blank screen. As I said, we're going to start with the who and not the what. If you start with the who, the what is simply a reaction to that target audience's problems. We're going to be focusing on this target audience's pain points, the problems, the things they need solving. And then we're going to apply our options. We'll go through some options for solutions in the form of product and get those problems solved. It's not very likely in reality that the first product I come up with or say out loud in these videos is actually going to be the one that gets made or gets sold. So it's a flexible process. I'm emotionally not attached to anything. I know the subset of people I want to serve slightly. I've been thinking about it over the last week. But let's go into how I even got to that so that you can follow along at home. So I use Miro all the time for all of my digital boards. So let's start from scratch. Ecom business 2025. It feels good to get going. Right. So first thing I'm actually going to do, and this might surprise a lot of you, is I'm going to look into the subset of people, so therefore I need to look into my own interests. I'm not going and looking at market trends right now. I'm trying to think what excites me. What am I going to want to do for the next few years? Remember, this business is going to be a long-term business. It's not going to be something that I try and make a quick buck on and then ditch it. This is going to be a business that makes long-term sense. Let's go into my possible areas, I think would be a most sensible place to start. So, essentially, I'm just thinking about all the things I like in the world. I mean, startup businesses is sadly one of my favourite hobbies, as you might be able to tell, hence why I'm starting another one. Marketing within that would be kind of my special area. That ruins my OCD a little bit. Let's put that there. Let's make this nice and clear that that's the center. Okay, let's look a little bit further out. I'm a big fitness kind of guy. This is something I pretty much spend as much time as I possibly can doing. I mean, nature in a way, but more extreme version of nature. So I mean, hiking mountains, yeah, do it. I guess I like hanging out with my friends. some extreme sports, kayaking. I don't know how extreme kayaking is. Down some rapids, it gets pretty extreme. Outdoor. Do you know what? I'll actually just summarize it and say adventure, because it doesn't matter what sport it is that I'm doing. If I'm getting out and it feels adventurous, I'm enjoying it. I have mostly quit drinking over the last few years. Sobriety is a thing that I resonate with. I mean, I'm not 100% sober, but attempting to drink less, if I was to just summarize that. If I was to be keep going down that kind of the money-making route, investing, and not crypto or anything, so let's keep this quite specific. Startup or property investing is what I'm interested in. Don't know if I particularly want to start anything in those areas. I kind of just do that as a means to an end rather than enjoyment. So yeah, let's start cutting some of these out, actually. I don't think that made me realise that I'm coming to the end of my list of things. Marketing, absolutely, is possible. I've already built a business in marketing. Currently operating that business in marketing. Yes, startup businesses, definitely. Fitness, I've always said I'd like to start a fitness company. There's obviously hugely saturated, depending the angle you go. Sobriety, I don't think I want it to become my personality, so I don't care that much about it. And also, I mean, I just want to stop drinking. It doesn't need to envelop my entire life. Outdoor adventure, yeah, it's quite vague, but absolutely, that does interest me in terms of things to move forwards with. So already we're thinking about the things that I'm strong in, the things that I'm actually going to be committing to. Something that's really important to consider here is founder idea fit. Depending on your future goals of your own business, we'll be bootstrapping, and I'll consider funding a long way in the future if it comes to that. But for now, I'm just bootstrapping. And if you were looking for funding, founder idea fit is one of the key kind of factors that investors will look for. So if you are moving into a whole new industry that you have no right being in, you're less likely to get funding. It's going to be a little bit harder. Whereas if you're moving into an industry that you've worked in for 10, 20 years, or you're not moving industry at all in that case, then you are going to find it slightly easier. People will find you more credible. People are more likely to invest in you. So, for example, outdoor adventure and fitness, no experience, no found idea fit for me. Marketing, startup businesses, yes, absolutely. However, as I said, I'm not thinking about funding right now, so I shouldn't really factor that in. So, thinking of a subset of people, I have already had a think about this, and these are some of the ones that came up. Maybe not the outdoor adventure, that just came up then. I'm pretty certain it's time for me to diversify my interests and my work life. I work in startup businesses all day, every day, have done for 10 years or so now. I'm a marketing strategist and head of growth at a company. I'm usually part of a lead of a marketing department. Feel like something different, and that leaves me here because that's something different. So I'm going to move ahead with this subset of people, and I'm going to get more specific with it, obviously. Let me just cancel all of those out. So this area, who we're going to call it. Let's go one step deeper and let's say who, though. Fitness, yeah, sure, I love fitness. Being more specific, so I mean, I've lifted weights in various forms for the last 10 years or so. Well, maybe 9 years now. Since I was 20 years old, I think I first stepped in a gym. I've gone through bodybuilding training, powerlifting, didn't really stick with that for long, not my kind of thing. CrossFit, still factor some CrossFit elements and endurance elements into my training today. In general, though, I don't think it needs to be sport specific. The thing that interests me the most and the thing that I spend time doing and researching would be science-based lifting. So that's more of a general, I mean, mostly bodybuilders will be going for this, but it can spread into any sport. So science-based lifting being the subgenre of of gym culture, where everything is, you make science-based decisions based on data rather than based on ego or what feels good or anecdotal data. So science-based lift rather than lift in, we need to think about the people, don't we? Science-based lifters. I think as a niche, that's a good place to start. The first question, after you've found who you want to serve, is this gonna be big enough market for my goals? Essentially, I know how much I want to make with this business, and I know it's a 10k per month challenge, but in the long term, I want it to be a lot larger than that. So science-based lifters, I'm just gonna pop off and do some research to see if kind of the quantities of people within, let's just start in the UK, and then we can kind of multiply that out into the world. Just so you don't miss any of this, I obviously use ChatGPT, so I just tell it to act as my market research tool, and then I'm going to make this kind of the brain. I'm not even logged in. I make this kind of the brain of this whole market research section and ideation. It does all the research for me, much quicker way of getting it done. Okay, after a bit of searching on ChatGPT, just a very top-down approach. 70% of people in the UK are currently a member of the gym. It's not specific enough. Sure, there's 10.7 million members, but most of those people will probably just sign up and not go. A study highlighted that only 7.3% of men and 4.1% of women engage in activities strictly classified as muscle strengthening. I'm going to go away and get a little bit more specific. I'm going to find a niche within the niche. So fitness is too broad, obviously. I think I'm going to go down the bodybuilder route because that makes more sense with the science-based aspect of it. Maybe I don't. Maybe I need to not cut out the sports. Science-based or evidence-based lifters within that category. Let me go and find out. Something to think about when you're searching for a subset, a niche within a niche. This is not news to me. But science-based lifting is taking some flack from people. And in fact, I've heard on YouTube recently somebody say, and got a lot of support for saying, why is it that science-based lifters are always smaller than non-science-based lifters? Doesn't that in itself suggest a correlation? I like the competitiveness. I don't know if that should affect our decisions at this point. Maybe the terminology and the messaging behind science-based lifting or evidence-based lifting might need, it depends. You either want to go really niche on one subset of people and they completely resonate with that, and all the other people are alienated by that phrase, or we play it safe. I guess it depends on the numbers that I discover in this research here. Some interesting research is that when you search science-based lifting or science-based lifting communities, the majority of results that come up, the death of science-based lifting, I just read that, it's just negative things. It's like my issue, etc., etc. It's like a counterculture that's weirdly unaccepted, which kind of, in a way, strengthens my reasoning for going down it. People will absolutely feel defensive and relate strongly to their counterculture that they're a part of. Just as I do, by the way, just to keep this rational. Okay, the only question is it too small? I've done some research into the sizes. There seems to be no way of telling, so I'm going to have to go slightly off of anecdotal evidence here, which isn't usually good in this situation, but let me draw up my initial thoughts. Having done a bit of research, this is some key points that I think are important. There's some low search competition when I'm looking all over Google for science-based lifting communities and pages and platforms. We'll get a little bit more into that. I'll definitely go into Google Ads and look at all the keywords, see how often things are searched when we get to kind of solution areas. But for now, we're just looking at the people. So there's a massive increase in the market. So in fitness in general, there's a huge increase. And evidence-based lifting within that seems to have exploded in the last few years. I've noticed that firsthand. Speaking of firsthand, I think it's pretty good. Founder Idea Fit. I already am part of the community. A lot of people I know are too. I understand us as a people. It's a niche within a niche. So obviously, as I said earlier, fitness is a large one. Then you go down a level into actual serious fitness, competing kind of making it your lifestyle rather than just turning up to the gym. And then within that comes the evidence-based lifting. So that sounds like it's a kind of good level of niching for me. It's a counterculture, which is both a positive and a negative, actually, because yes, these people feel tight-knit community together, and they resonate with certain terminologies. But when I Google science-based lifting, there's a strong opposing culture that saturates the search terms, essentially, and that could be a threat in the future. Let's say that it suddenly became common knowledge that science-based or evidence-based lifting was suddenly uncool, or whatever reason it was. That could be a threat to our business if we've put our entire weight into that. Obviously, you can't avoid all threats, but you need to know them and point them out. And also, there's a few key leaders in the space, which I think helps right now. It's not hugely oversaturated in terms of true science-based lifters. There's a few names that spring to mind as the kings of that space when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to content, when it comes to owning the audiences. So that could be very useful for the future if we are able to get onto their platform for some reason. Then that would be a big step up. Out of the 10.7 million members, I'm going to cut that down to only about 10% of people who go to the gym work or are interested in evidence-based lifting. So that when I say interested in, they don't all need to be deep within the community. Let's just say that 1 million people in the UK are interested in the new scientific studies that come out, do their research on certain dietary elements, they do their research on supplements, they make sure to train effectively. I don't want to get blurry goggles here, because 80% of my friends who work out in the gym would consider themselves evidence-based lifters. Maybe that's just because I've infected them, or they've infected me with my personality and way of life. Something to keep in mind as we move forwards, but I'm happy to go down this rabbit hole for now. So next up, I want to think about this person, think about their pain points, think about the problems, so that we can start maybe doing some research into possible solutions. That takes me to our first kind of framework and tool. We're getting into the details about these people. This is a 4-step process that I've taken a lot of clients through to kind of encourage growth. Step 1, define a perfect customer avatar. Step 2, decide which channels are best for that avatar. Step 3, running experiments on those channels and measuring all of the data and making sure that's heading in the right direction. And then step 4, obviously get feedback from those people. Hopefully some of them have converted. Maybe you're giving free things, whatever it is. And then you loop that round and round and round until you're getting growth. We're going to start with our perfect customer avatar. Key factor. I am going to just start with the UK for now. In e-commerce, it makes the shipping a lot easier. It means I don't need to worry too much about returns, etc. I'm just going to start with the UK for the time being. Right, key factors. Science-based lifter. Okay, so I filled out perfect customer avatar. This is just common sense at the moment. I have also gone away and done some research on each individual aspect to make sure I'm getting it accurate. So just some key factors. Science-based lifter, obviously, they're interested in data-backed methodologies in general, and they go to the gym regularly. So UK major towns and cities are more likely to have these gyms, so they're probably more likely to have these people who go to the gyms. They're likely male. Yes, that is true. It's not that we're ruling out females, but we're just writing down as much information as we can about this subset of people. The age group of people who consider themselves regular gym goers, the most likely age group is 25 to 34-year-olds, and that's from a UK fitness report from Pure Gym, actually. They likely have above average intelligence. If you are interested in reading studies, in reading data, in learning as much as you can, it would correlate that you have that in other areas of your life, which suggests above average intelligence. Their wants and desires, so they're competitive, they want progress as much as possible, They likely want more self-confidence. It's kind of a big driver that a lot of people step into the gym in the first place. They want faster results, whether that's because they want the maximum results as fast as possible, or whether it's because they want good results whilst being in the gym the least time as possible. So whether that's faster results or less time spent, they want to win at their sport, perhaps. That would probably go with the first of those two options there. So that kind of is where it splits off a little bit. Their challenges, information overload. I know this firsthand. The entire world is mixed with completely opposing information, just as it is for every subgenre of interest that you might have. It's overwhelming, to say the least. Another challenge they might have is that they're misunderstood by non-fitness people in their lives. They might have some lifestyle clashes because of that point, or it might be because of their work, etc. For example, they want to be less stressed, they want to sleep more, they want to eat better, but they can't do these things because they've got a serious job that's taking up all their energy and time. And on that note, they have to go to work when they don't want to go to work, because nobody really wants to go to work unless you really enjoy your work. These guys and girls, I imagine, just want to be in the gym as much as possible, and they're doing work for work's sake. Okay, where do they spend their time digitally and physically? Now we have all the previous information in terms of like an average of these people. Premium gyms, I don't mean spa gyms. I mean not commercial, not name brand, not the cheap gyms. Spending a lot of time on YouTube doing research. Instagram and TikTok kind of come as one, interchangeable, although this age bracket, 25 to 34-year-olds, is teetering in between those, maybe leaning slightly more towards TikTok nowadays. Reddit, at the top of this age bracket, yes, Reddit makes perfect sense if people are going to have discussions. There's tons of communities on there, etc. Speaking of communities, bodybuilding.com, I actually had to search to see it was still a thing. It's more of a website than a forum like it used to be. Supplement stores and sport-specific competitions. So we're getting a real picture of who these people are, what they do with their day, where they spend their time, what they want, what they don't want. And that means we can move on to the Bullseye Marketing Framework. So let me jump into explaining what this is. In general, there is 19 possible ways of getting a customer into your business. All 19 are listed here. I have tested this theory. I've tried to come up with other ones. I've known this about this Bullseye Marketing Framework for a few years, and I've never found something that doesn't fit either into one of these or is one of these. So I would say this is pretty much 99.9% accurate. So all of your options for growing your business are here in front of you, and that is extremely important when you're coming into this challenge. If you want to learn more about this, I strongly suggest reading the book Traction by Gabrielle Weinberg. I think it's about 19 chapters long. Each chapter is dedicated to one of these. Is an excellent example of how a startup or a small business can apply this exact channel into their marketing strategy. Okay, so I'll quickly run around and make sure that you understand each of them individually. Targeting blogs. Targeting, as in we are not targeting specific blogs, we are building targeted blogs. Don't know why it's called that, but it is. So we are defining our audience just as we've done. We are writing solutions to their problems or things that will interest them, or providing them value via blogs and regularly posting them out so that people can find them. Public relations, I would say this isn't something you need to think of right now. This is a much later down the line strategy. Public relations is essentially changing the public perception of your brand. Unconventional PR, you could perhaps factor this into your early stage startup. A great example of this was when a competitor of PayPal in the early days, there was a issue with PayPal at the time where they kept freezing people's accounts and freezing their money. So a competitor of PayPal made a huge ice block and dropped it outside the front headquarters in New York of PayPal. I believe it was in New York. And it hit the press and everybody was very excited. It was a fun little joke that would be considered unconventional PR, because you don't always need to go after your competitors. That was just a great example of it. Thinking of unique ways to get into the public eye. SEM stands for Search Engine Marketing. Google Ads, you don't really need to look much further than that in most cases. Social and display ads, that would be Meta ads, YouTube ads. Anytime that you display on social media, there's an ad for that. Offline ads, leaflets, posters, flyers, business cards, etc., billboards. SEOs, that is search engine optimization. So that is trying to organically work your way up the Google rankings. So you have to learn everything about, well, not just Google, but everything about your specific search engine and work your way up it over the long term. Content marketing, now this kind of covers quite a lot within there. So it's just producing content for marketing's sake. So that could be podcasts, it could be an Instagram account, it could be any sort of social media, it could be YouTube videos. All these things kind of come under content marketing. Email marketing is different to email outreach. So email marketing is when you collect a email or a mailing list of people who have given you permission to reach out to them, and you send out campaigns to them. Viral marketing is the idea that you would be using a viral mechanism. Viral essentially just means when you spread it to one person, as in actual viruses, that person spreads it to 2 people or whatever the number may be. And those 2 people spread it to 4. 4 goes to 8, 16, 32, and it just explodes from there. So viral marketing is a way of figuring out how to increase virality of your own business. So for example, when you get a new customer, you may have been offered this at times actually. If you invite 2 of your friends, you get your next month free or something like that. That would be a viral mechanism. They've managed to convince you to invite more customers and given you something in return. So your 2 would then become 4, would then become 8, and it moves on from there. Engineering as marketing. This, for example, is if you ever go to Google and you search for like a tool and you go on a website and you use this software tool because it answers the question you need. Maybe it's a calculator, maybe it's an investment prediction, something like that. Somebody has designed that and given it to you for free because some of those people will then go onto the page, generate positive SEO, links back to SEO here, positive traffic, and that's engineering as marketing. Business development. Business development and sales are quite similar. However, business development is not always exchanging money for goods and services. It can be reaching out to businesses to find mutual interest. You might pay them or they might pay you, but it's not always the case. Sales is, as it says on the tin, you're reaching out to people. You're either inbound or outbound sales. It all comes under this. Offline ads, we've had that. Affiliate programs. So this is essentially offering people who bring customers to you a revenue share of that sale that you make. Existing platforms. This is actually the key channel I use to grow my previous ecom business. It comes with a load of positives and some negatives, which we will get into in the future. But that just means things like Amazon, eBay, etc., places that you can sell your stuff on. Trade shows, in-person events, conferences, etc. That also leads on to offline events. In reality, trade shows could probably fit under that, but they've separated it here. Offline events, whether that's keynote speaking, whether it's having a DJ at a party, all sorts of things, just to get the buzz going. And community building is our final one. So starting a community online where they're able to interact with each other, all under kind of your brand name, that would be a route of marketing. So there is hopefully 19 options, and I haven't missed any out. Now you know the options, it's much easier to apply this that we've done here to the 19 options here. So what you want to do is you want to take the ones that are feasible or make sense from this research you've done here and move them into this second ring. So targeting blogs, yes, it's feasible and it makes sense. SEMs, absolutely. Social and display ads, absolutely. Offline ads, yes. This is good if you can think of a physical place where they always are, premium gyms or sport-specific competitions. Offline ads makes perfect sense. SEOs, yes. Content marketing, absolutely. They consume a lot of content. Email marketing, It does slightly make sense. I don't think people of this age really check their personal emails that much. I'm going to leave that one out for now. It's not a very strong link to our end goal here. Viral marketing, maybe in the future, something to think about. Engineering as marketing. Now that's quite good. That's triggered a few thoughts immediately. Maybe calorie counting, program building, etc., etc. Business development doesn't really make sense in the e-commerce world as much, especially not in the early days. And unless your product is high ticket, sales doesn't make sense either. I don't imagine with these people that my product or my offering will be that high ticket unless we go into some sort of white glove custom package. No, we're going to stay out of that. Affiliate programs, absolutely possible. However, the problem with affiliate programs is affiliate platforms where you go to get affiliates, they kind of need to require a proof. They require a proof of concept from you, usually. So then you're not going to get many affiliates signing up to sell your product for you if all the customers they send their way lead to nothing because you have no proven system, you don't have a proven product, and nobody's buying stuff from you. So affiliate programs, fantastic for the future, but not right here at the start. Existing platforms, absolutely. That is going to be a cornerstone, I believe, of pretty much any start of an e-com retail business. Trade shows, expensive, not something we're going to be getting into. Offline events, slightly similar, can be less expensive. Could be something for the future. Community building interests me a lot in this space specifically. So this is kind of the framework. Let me spread those out nice and evenly. This is the framework for how we choose what we're going to be looking into. Like, we're not going to test every single one of these straight away. That would just be spreading my efforts too thin. But there's a few that stand out here as easily accessible. There's a few that stand out here as maybe I don't want to take that on right now. Targeting blogs. I will do a very base level on any website I build to make sure that it ranks okay, but I am not an SEO expert. So I don't think that I should invest my energy into becoming excellent at SEO. So I think I'm going to cancel that and that as a feasible upcoming channel. SEMs is a difficult one. It requires budget, obviously. Google ads are the most expensive of the ads. Maybe LinkedIn is slightly more, but it's on the higher end of the budget. I don't know if you saw episode 1, but the budget here is £100 a month to keep this challenge fair. So I don't think, after paying for the website and any other things we have to pay for, I don't think that SEM is going to be realistic right now. However, I am going to keep social and display ads in because there's some very cheap options out there that you could realistically do for under £50 a month and get some sort of results. It's not going to be much, but some results. Offline ads interest me, maybe because I have a background in graphic design, but I'm going to keep that there. Content marketing. Now, I think this is one of the strongest ones. I'm going to make it gold. To build a business today, I think content is the easiest way you can get into kind of talking about your business, getting your message across. Slightly what I'm doing here, if you want to think about breaking the fourth wall there. What I'm doing is creating content around building an e-commerce business, so that maybe in the future, if people need help building an e-commerce business, I'm here and they know about me. So I like content marketing. Engineering is marketing. Yes, I can build basic softwares myself. I don't have the money to hire that out. Depending on the tool itself, that might be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Existing platforms, yes, absolutely. Depending on the product we end up selling, we can look into existing platforms. And I think along with content marketing, I think community building is very feasible. They're well connected. If you're creating lots of content anyway, why not start a community, post that content to there, and then add an extra few elements to get people talking and get conversations flowing. So, okay, I've got some places that I already know I want to start. And you may be surprised, I haven't even thought about product yet, but I don't want to think about product until I know my person, until I know where they are, and where I'm going to try and reach them at. And then from after doing a little bit of research into those end platforms and goals, we can think about product. So that's coming up shortly. Before we go any further down this board, this is a growth specific board. So we've thought about a perfect customer, we've thought about our channels. Before we go experimenting on those channels, we need to start thinking about pain points a little bit more and possible solutions to those pain points. So let me hop into the framework for that. Right, pain point mapping. I knew I was going to have to get some more opinions on this. It can't be all from just me. So I sent a text out to some of my gym friends to describe what they're annoyed with in their current lifestyle. I've also written out the ones that I'm feeling, and I've gone to ChatGPT, described my perfect avatar and said, give me all of the pain points that they're feeling within this kind of subject space. I've written the best ones. In fact, there's so much more than this. The list is very, very long here. So I've just put a little note for each one that I find most interesting. Next up, I'm going to pop it into this matrix. So common at the top, rare at the bottom, painful on the right, mild on the left. So essentially, we're going to be hoping that we get some clustered in the top right here. So common and painful. That will give us the pain points that this group of people are feeling the most. Obviously, I'm going to have to make a judgment on how common and rare that is from my anecdotal experience, which is why founder idea fit is so important. If you don't have good founder idea fit, then you are going to have to go out and talk to these potential customers in whatever format you'd like. Easier said than done, but I'm not going to jump into that right now. I'm sure there's plenty of information on the internet about customer discovery. You want to go and search how to do customer discovery. I'm going to put all of these into the matrix and be back with you in a second. So just to run you through a few of my thoughts here. We're looking at the top right, as I said, to be the most common and most painful. A few notable mentions. There's algorithm content bias. I didn't think of that myself, but if you're going down your feeds, you're going to see the same thing. If you are a science-based lifter, you want to see all sides of the story so that you're getting the correct one rather than being fed misinformation. Misinformation comes a little bit up here. Ego lifting pressure, you feel it from the outside. Mainstream clothing brands don't usually fit very well. There is solutions to that. That's why it's on the milder side. Struggling to get protein. I put this in the middle in terms of pretty much everything because I believe this customer avatar has pretty much got on top of that now, but has felt it at some point. Maybe still a problem to think about. Anything in this section is. Body dysmorphia, quite common nowadays, misunderstood by peers. That's people outside of the lifestyle. Right up in the top corner, consistency in diet, recovery issues, specifically stress, sleep, all the things that stop you from recovering from sessions. Consistency in training, they kind of come as a little clump, and those three can cause underwhelming results. So they're common from the people I know, and painful from the anecdotes that I know. Training fatigue, calorie tracking is annoying, struggling to gain weight, struggling to lose weight, pretty much the same. Misleading advice, supplements ineffective. There's so many lies about supplements out there. There's just very few that are actually useful. And the funnest things in life have calories. Whether that's alcohol, whether it's Five Guys, whether it's whatever you like to do. An exaggeration, but this is something that I've felt over the last 10 years. The reason I quit drinking is because of fitness. Because, well, it's not just the calories, but it's also the recovery issues that comes along with that. So if I was to drink, I wouldn't sleep very well. I'd be more stressed for the next week because it messes with your hormones. It lowers your testosterone. All sorts of issues can come from that. So actually, I'm going to move that a little bit up just from my own experience. And my friends, I know that we want to do certain things in life, but we can't. I'm going to put it all the way in the top here. So we've kind of cut out 75% of the problems, and we've got a little batch to focus on, only things in the top right-hand corner. So this is when we start to think about solutions, about products. Finally, we're there. We need to start thinking about potential solutions to these problems And because we're building an e-commerce business and not just any old business, they need to be in product form. So we can't be thinking about a new calorie tracking app because that's just not going to work in our form. So we'll make that red. I'll go through and I'll pick out a few that make sense in the ecom retail space. So having gone through these, there's a few that were definite no's: calorie tracking, training fatigue, lifestyle clashes. Can't really do much with physical product there. I've left the orange ones where I'm not sure. There could be an overlap: consistency in diet, consistency in training. Maybe there's a connection there to a physical product. But the green ones with potential have been moved over here. So food tastes worse, as in the food you have to eat tastes worse than the food you want to eat. Struggling to lose weight and struggling to gain weight. So some sort of weight loss or weight gain product. Recovery issues. So this, again, stress, sleep, things can be enhanced with a product. The funnest thing in life have calories. So if we were to invent some sort of fun thing that currently has calories, if we can remove as much of that as possible so that it does least damage with the most amount of fun, that already exists in the form of like low calorie chocolate. I'm sure there's low calorie alcohol. I think the lowest calorie alcohol you're able to get is just straight spirits though. So I don't think there's a scientific solution to that right now. Although I'll do a little bit of research into it because maybe there is, and that would be a big game changer. Underwhelming results. A physical product to solve that would be supplements, especially if they're ineffective. Steroids, we're going to keep it legal, but just thinking out loud here. Inconsistent motivation. Not such a strong connection. I mean, caffeine can give you temporary motivation. There's certain other things. Maybe that doesn't quite work. I'm going to take that off the list. Inconsistent motivation. So I'm going to do a little bit of thinking over these over the next week or so. I'll do my own little research and I will come back in episode 3 with some action plans for it. I'm likely, by the way, not going to stick to the one that I first choose. I'm going to do the research on them roughly. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole, but it's a two-way door. This is a Jeff Bezos saying. If the door is two-way, i.e. you can walk through the door, see if you like it, and walk straight back out, then you don't need to stress about the decision of walking through that door in the first place. If it's a one-way door, it means you have to commit time, money, energy, resources. You can't easily turn around and walk back out because you've already announced to the world you're doing something. You've already got an audience. If you're not able to turn around on that decision, you have to think a lot harder about making that decision in the first place. But right now, great thing about early on in business, nobody's watching, nobody cares. You can change your ideas many times as you want. So I will be looking for the two-way doors and I will be exploring them over the next week or so. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.